A government senator in Trinidad resigns amid a fake oil scandal. And in sport, West Indies' latest Baton recruit Sunil Ambrose gets kudos for upping his game. I'm Ricardo Roberts and this is Caribbean in 10 for Tuesday, November 28th. I'll be back with the details after the break.
Did you know that a strategy has been developed to help improve the region's education and human resources?
You didn't? Well, the HID strategy, as it is called, will guide CARICOM in how it delivers quality education and training to the people of the region.
The strategy has been crafted by a group of experts called the HRD Commission.
Consultations have been done across the region to get your input.
Do you know that none of us will be left behind?
The HRD strategy is important to all of us, students, parents, and employers. It will prepare the region, especially the youth, for the 21st century economy and society.
The HRD strategy, unlocking Caribbean human potential.
A government senator in Trinidad and Tobago has resigned amid a so-called fake oils controversy regarding supplies to the state-owned oil company. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has accepted the resignation of Alison Basque and thanked her for her service and contribution to the Senate since her appointment back in September 2015. Her decision to step down following a forensic audit by the Canada-based Kroll Consulting Canada company, which found that Petrotrin paid ANV Oil and Gas for oil produced between January and June, which it did not receive. Basque is the daughter of the chief executive of ANV Oil and Gas. Prime Minister Rowley has already indicated that the matter will be dealt with by the Petrotrin Board of Directors and the Energy Ministry. It was in September that Petrotrin announced that it had launched an investigation into the reports of inconsistencies in the volumes reported from its exploration and production fields. There could be more problems between the Jamaica government and public sector nurses who took industrial action last week. That's because the Ministry of Finance has not yet indicated when wage negotiations will resume, although that was one of the requirements of a back-to-work agreement reached last Friday between the association and the ministry following a sick-out by scores of government-paid nurses. The nurses have rejected government's 6% wage offer over 2 years and a freeze on allowances and are upset that the 2017-2019 wage negotiations have stalled. The Police Federation says it has not yet heard from government when their wage negotiations will resume. Now, a 14-day deadline for the Finance Ministry to respond expires this week, and teachers have also rejected government's wage offer. But Finance Minister Audley Shaw has pleaded with public sector unions to hold strong.
We have to ask everyone, including our public sector workers, to take account of the fact that we are one country, that we have had fundamental structural problems over the years, that we are working on them together, that it has actually required a certain amount of sacrifice from everyone, and including our public sector workers.
Staying in Jamaica now, the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, has fired back at Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who accused the entity of being overzealous at times. INDECOM Commissioner Terence Williams says Holness is way off target. He was speaking at a press conference yesterday, a day after Holness leveled the charge at the Jamaica Labour Party's annual conference, and said INDECOM was making police fearful of doing their job.
We do not share the view that INDECOM has at any time gone too far. INDECOM was formed by an act of Parliament to combat impunity and injustice in the security forces through independent scrutiny. There have been more than a handful of court challenges to INDECOM's stewardship under the Act. INDECOM has so far been successful in all of these challenges.
The Guyana government says the economy should grow by 2.9% this year after experiencing both positive and negative growth in 2016. Finance Minister Winston Jordan delivered the 267.1 billion Guyana dollar budget statement to Parliament yesterday and revised down the projected growth rate from the 3.2% in his mid-year report. He told legislators that the continued weak performance in mining, quarrying, sugar and other sectors led to that downward revision in the projected growth rate. During the presentation, the Finance Minister also announced an amnesty for delinquent corporate and individual taxpayers. It will take effect from January 1st through September 30th next year. Taxpayers who file and pay all principal taxes on or before June 30, 2018 will have all interest and penalties waived, while those who file and pay all principal taxes between July 1st and September 30th will have half of the interest and penalties waived. Stay with us. Your Midday Sport is next.
This is the plaintiff, Miguel Simmons. He's suing Marcus Johnson for the cost of airfare, hotel, and pain and suffering for being misled. He prays the court will award him the sum of $2,100. This is the defendant, Marcus Johnson, also known as Keisha Johnson. He is countersuing for missed days from work and assault for the sum of $3,000. This is the case of Fly Me to Hobo.
West Indies' latest batting recruit Sunil Ambrose has been praised for the way he has transformed his game in order to make the rise to the international level. Assistant coach Roddy Estwick says he saw Ambrose at the under-19 level, and when he toured Australia with the West Indies in 2012, he has carried his good form forward and improved. Estwick says the youngster had adjusted his game and is quite organized. The 24-year-old has scored heavily over the last year, subsequently forcing his way into the West Indies one-day squad before being recently called up for the Test tour of New Zealand. He sent a clear signal to tour selectors with an audacious 153 off 145 balls in the three-day tour match against New Zealand A, which ended on Monday. Now, the right-handed Ambrose was in superb form in the first-class season, amassing 608 runs at an average 43, including a cracking double century of 231 against Leeward Islands Hurricanes back in March. And he also piled up 423 runs in the regional Super 50 to be one of the leading run getters. And West Indies batsman Evan Lewis and Nicholas Pooran produced cracking half-centuries to spearhead wins for their respective franchises in the Bangladesh Premier League, and we hear more of that story in our major newscast at 6:30. That's Caribbean in 10. Good afternoon.